members of Welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
Welcome to our spoiler reaction review discussion, wild speculation now, of episode 8 of Ahsoka called The Lion, the Witch, and the War... No, wait. The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Dave Filoni just poking at us.
By the way, episode 8 of season 1.
Season 1. We will get into that discussion in a minute. Rick Fukujimo? Fukujimo? I can never say his last name, and I'm really bad at it. I'm sorry. Has become the guy outside of John and Dave to be the director. He's like the number 3, and Bryce Dallas Howard is number 4.
Yeah.
And I don't think Bryce did not do an episode of the Ahsoka series because she was going to go film Agent Argyle. I think is why it happened.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The timing makes sense.
But he has a style, aesthetic, a presentation that I really like. It is how Dave sees it. It's how John sees it. It's how George Lucas sees it. But he also understands the action. How to film the action, how to film the tension in the scene.
Yeah.
It's not just cool. They like sabers flinging about. There's tension to it.
And I think that's probably why Bryce didn't do anything in the. I mean, aside from I think that she's probably was filming, but she's much. Her episodes tend to be a little slower, a little more.
Not that there's not action in them, but
right,
yes.
But it's more emotional, more motherly, for lack of it. She's just, it's kind of,
Her 2 episodes that come off the top of my head is the Magnificent 7 episode, like episode 5 of the first season of Mandalorian, where they had the giant AT-ST attacking the village. Like that was her first directorial thing.
Right.
And then in season 2, when Mando gets captured on the fishing boat and we get Bo-Katan and the rest of the Mandalorians showing up, that was her episode as well. So she got the visual aesthetic of Star Wars. Where did I just run over? Okay.
Did she do the fish mother ball? Fish ball?
Or
was it the one?
It was that's when they landed. Hi, welcome to Mandalorian Talk. It's when they landed, and then they do the thing, and then
but it was
Mando was running around saying there was the first one was the spider episode,
right?
And the ice cave,
right? That
was Rick.
Oh, okay.
And then Bryce did the next one.
Okay.
Welcome to the Mandalorian Talk. Anyways, but I bring that up because a lot of this episode was the tension of them trying to get to the ship to do their best to try to stop Thrawn. And at every corner, they think they've got it. And there's another obstacle in their way.
Right.
And Thrawn even points out, Morgan Elsbeth says that they almost impossible for them to stop us now because their ship is down or whatever. And Thrawn is like, many of Imperial officers have had the same thought and have lost to a single Jedi, including myself.
Yeah.
And so Thrawn is even smart enough to sit there and say, you know what? I'm going to do everything I know, and then when I think I've done everything, I'm going to do 5 more things.
Right. Because it's not just good enough to get out.
Yeah.
I need to, although, in hindsight, if he'd have gone when they were having that conversation, Ezra never would have made it onto the ship.
Right.
So.
Right. But I think, at least the way I believe it was presented, now we've watched the episode once, and so we haven't gone back and done the deep dive and all the little things.
Right.
But the way it's presented is they had to get the ring out of orbit because the Chimera couldn't go to orbit. And so they had to bring the ring to them. And that process of docking the Chimera into the ring is not a simple process.
Right.
And so He was just trying to buy as much time as humanly possible, including getting the Night Sisters to uh, uh, monsterify Morgan Elsbeth to make her even more badass.
Right.
With Mother Talzin's sword, like they manifested Mother Talzin's sword from another galaxy, like freaking Excalibur, with with green flame. And then they made zombies. The Great Mothers made. We got the zombie troopers.
Yep.
Everybody's been saying the Night Troopers are zombies. A group of them ended up being zombies.
Right, which makes sense about why, they were saying, like, the conversation between uh, Morgan Elsbeth and Thrawn, and the sisters was like they know what they're getting into, that they're not coming back, and you're just like, oh, okay, they're gonna just, like, no matter what happens, they're leaving, and these guys,
Are staying.
the stormtroopers, are staying.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
it's not.
You volunteered. You volunteered to be the front line in a zombie war.
Right. Now, I do have a question, because those the guys who were fighting Ezra and Sabine in different armor actually were zombies.
Yeah. So those were Death Troopers. The Death Troopers are the more advanced stormtroopers that Orson Krennic had as his guys.
Right.
And I believe Thrawn had some Death Troopers with him. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it definitely feels like, or at least the way it's presented, is that they did die in some process.
And they reanimated them.
And they were reanimated by the Dark. Which is why Thrawn knew that they could do that when he went and asked them, 2 episodes ago, I'm going to need your help once again.
Right.
And so he mentions that 2 episodes ago, and then in this episode, they reanimate him, so he may have already known that was something they could do.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking that if the speculation about what's in the box is a bunch of corpses, kind of
Night Sisters and Night Brothers,
yeah, then that's the precursor to what's going to happen once they get to our galaxy.
And they did not go to Cetos; they went to Dathomir.
Yeah.
So I find it very interesting. The Great Mothers may not know, and Morgan Elsbeth definitely didn't know, that it was the Empire who destroyed the Night Towns and the Dathomirians and all of that.
Right.
It was Dooku under the instruction of Palpatine, because he feared what the Dathomirians could actually be as a force against Palpatine himself, and so he sent Dooku and the Separatists. It's essentially the Empire at that point. Not that point, but that's what they end up being, to destroy everybody on Dathomir. So the Great Sisters, the Great Mothers, are
working for technically the enemy.
Technically, the people that destroyed their home planet, but I don't think they know that.
Right.
And Thrawn, multiple times, looking dead into the camera, into my soul with his red eyes, and saying, "For the Empire." It's like, oh, God, I forget how much I hate that saying. Just makes me... I'm going to say this again. I'm going to continue to say it. I'm very sorry for all my cosplayers who watch this. If you dress up as an Imperial officer or a stormtrooper, you are missing the point. I'm sorry. You're dressing as fascists. You might as well put a Nazi uniform on. I'm sorry. That's the Empire.
Yeah.
And I know they've got the cool ships and they got the coolest uniforms. And how can you openly dress as a Nazi? Like, if I was an actor and they offered me a role as a Nazi, look at my skin color, look at my hair color, I would say no, because it would just freak me out. I just couldn't do it. I want to be in a Star Wars movie so freaking bad, but I'm not going to play some Imperial back officer or wear stormtrooper armor or something like that. And it's like, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Daniel Craig did.
I don't care. And he did Jews in the Trees. So I'm just saying.
He did.
Okay, so the episode starts. We're gonna wander all over the place because there's a bunch of different things that happen in this episode. The fighting is amazing. And we'll just get that out of the way. It just the way it's choreographed with Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka, and it's that whole fight. Rosario Dawson and Diane. It just did a great job. It was just a great job.
Yep.
And it's mostly them the entire way, and I just really appreciate that.
And the Sabine and Ezra.
And the Sabine and Ezra
trying to all the stormtroopers and
everything. In the hallway scene, it was definitely it was yes, all of that. The episode starts though with Ezra trying to build his own lightsaber. Even though Sabine has got his old one, she has made it his. Or she's made it hers.
Right. And he said, I gave it to you. So,
yes. And he's on the ship with the original teacher of how to build lightsabers.
But he's trying to tell him that he's doing it wrong.
And I love that. I love that back and forth because that's very Ezra. Ezra's got it kind of his own way, even though he's in. He is a Jedi and has been taught the Jedi way. He is still his own person. He's was taught in the wild by Kanan Jarrus, and Kanan was brought up, and they spent time talking about his time as being apprenticed to Kanan, and even Hu Yang talked about how Kanan was kind of his own person and in how he did his own thing.
Yep.
And Ezra's going through all the parts and like there's no filing system. He's like everything has a place, and like
Hu Yang's like, no, don't stop touching everything.
Now Ezra's first lightsaber that he built had a stun gun on it. There's one on eBay right now. I am trying really hard not to buy it. And that first blade was blue. He loses that one. I believe in the Grand Inquisitor fight. I think it gets Ezra falls off. Kanan grabs it. There's an exchange, and I think that's how it goes. I know he loses it, so he built a new one. The new one is the green bladed one that Sabine has now, and then he built his own. And in this process of bickering back and forth with Hu Yang about how to actually build his own lightsaber, he knows what he's doing. Hu Yang pulls out a part, and he said, Kanan had one of these. There was only two. I kept it for him just in case he needed to build a new one. And Ezra's like, this is exactly what I was looking for. And he put the piece on. And now there's going to be a new lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge next week when we go to buy it. And it's bitchin'. It's sleek. It's very similar to his last one, but it's much more streamlined than the one that he had. It's not as ornate as some of the High Republic ones, and it's not as augmented with different things like the Skywalker one or the cylinder, the gold rings like Obi-Wan's has got and stuff like that. And so it was just really cool. And then he lights it, and it's blue. So I just have to ask the question. I'm sure somebody was explaining this. Hu Yang's just got kyber crystals just laying around in the ship somewhere, right?
Right. I thought these were hard to get, and they're just, I'm making this one, and now I'm making this one.
Yeah. I'm. There's all the parts there anyway, so he's got to have them. I mean, there's some in the training case in the training room. There's some just kind of hanging there.
Yeah, so. Which was that was when I saw him. I was like, I thought, and okay. Timeline again. So the planet in Rogue One, they blew it up, right? Isn't that where they got the kyber crystals?
So the kyber crystals come from Ilum, one of the planets that they get is Ilum. Ilum ends up being Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens.
Okay, because I thought
Ilum. Yeah, I think it's Ilum.
The blind monk guy was like they mined for kyber crystals or whatever.
Right.
Here.
There are kyber crystals are not just one set location.
Okay.
That's Jeddah.
Jeddah, yeah.
Jeddah is one of the old Jedi planets. It's actually one of the first planets where the Jedi actually went. I guess it's the second planet, third planet, that had the Jedi Temple on it.
Right.
Because of the kyber crystals and everything were there.
Okay.
And then it became...
And Jedda's gone now.
And the Jeddah city is gone.
Oh,
the
they didn't blow up the
Jeddah,
whole...
right.
Oh, I thought they blew up the whole
Right,
planet. Okay.
right.
All right.
I just watched Rogue One this week. Actually, I watched everything great about Rogue One, so it's fresh in my mind. Sabine has a moment during that conversation about the connection that Ezra had with Kanan, and how
Right.
connection, and Hu Yang talks about the connection between master and apprentice, and how it's difficult but very important, whatever. Yep. And you could watch Sabine go from this joyous, kind of happy that Ezra is there building his lightsaber, to this very somber, I've been through some poo.
And I probably need to apologize
right,
to my master.
To my master. And she leaves, and we get very important conversation when Ezra turns around to show Sabine, and she's gone.
Yeah.
He did say in there, I did miss you, somewhere.
Yeah.
And he turned to Hu Yang and said kind of what happened. And Hu Yang explains that Ahsoka felt that Sabine was going to go down the wrong path because of what happened to her home planet after the Empire took over. After right. the Empire and the Night of 1,000 Tears, the Mandalorian Purge.
Right.
So we get confirmation that Sabine knows that happened.
Right.
Which is why part of the rift is between Ahsoka and Sabine.
Right.
It's because at that point in time, Ahsoka was so worried about becoming her master with her attachment that she could see that Sabine was training for the wrong reasons.
Right. And she also he also points out, was it there, that Sabine was so powerful. Like somebody, it was either in that conversation or Ahsoka said later that Sabine was so powerful, which is like the first time that you really, like, up until now, somebody like me, I'm like, okay, she's got potential, but she's not going to be this great Jedi. And now they're saying, like, she could be Anakin Skywalker.
She could be a version of, I've learned these powers to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And that's confirmation for me that that Ahsoka did actually see something in her.
Right.
Now, a lot of fans may butt up against that, and I totally understand, because it wasn't really something addressed in Rebels. However, if we take the math of what happened with Sabine and the Darksaber, and how she struggled with the weight of it, and how Mando struggled with the weight of it, every Jedi Master has said everyone has a version of the Force in them. Everybody can tap into the Force. It's just their talent level, how much they're willing to work on it, and all this stuff. So Sabine has shown that she can work with the Force by using the Darksaber. So there's something there, and now it's been elaborated on.
Right. Well, and you can easily say that it's a Mandalorian thing, right? They've shown 2 Mandalorians who struggle to wield the Darksaber, so it could just be...
And 2 that can. Quite easily.
2 Mandalorians? Mm. Oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
So yes.
But it's also not a Jedi thing.
Right.
Because
Bo-Katan,
Katie Sackhoff. No, Katie Sackhoff.
Yes.
I mean, yes, but no. Bo-Katan isn't a Jedi.
Right. But she has a better connection with that sword than...
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. It's not a Jedi thing. It's not a Mandalorian thing specifically. It's a thing.
It's a connection. It's a connection. Let's see. We talked about the Ezra, and then Sabine and Ahsoka have a kind of a kiss and make up kind of conversation where Ahsoka tells Sabine that no matter what, my master backed me even when things were bad.
Yep.
And I'm going to do the same for you.
Yep.
You made the choice that you thought was right. You've done what you're supposed to do, which is get to Ezra. and I'm going to back you on this. And even though it may cost us a fight with Thrawn in the future, we'll do it together.
Right.
And it was that's important. We finally got there. Like Ahsoka had to go through her Belrog fight to become Ahsoka the White, and then we had to have Sabine go through her. We're not there yet. We're not completely there yet, but we had to have her go through her emotional dealings with her home planet and Ahsoka leaving her and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
This thing of Ezra leaving this quest for her,
Yeah.
like this whole thing. Um, but them getting together and them accepting each other for who they are, even for their mistakes, and even Ahsoka said, "I've made plenty of mistakes
Right.
and nobody understood why I made those mistakes, but my
But-
master backed me even though I was
Right.
there."
Right. It was a decision I made, and he backed me.
Yeah, and it was why Anakin was awesome with Ahsoka. But because of that conversation, Sabine comes back for Ahsoka when Ahsoka's fighting Morgan Elsbeth Jedi Slayer with her freaking sword and the zombie troopers.
Right.
And that was a moment of. It was also a moment when she was getting choked out that she finally allowed herself to tap into the Force. She pulled a lightsaber to herself. She killed the one Death Trooper.
Very Luke in the on Hoth.
In the cave
Yeah,
with
in the cave.
with the Wampa, with the Wampa. Oh wait, no, that's the I didn't get the Wampa. Tauntaun.
That's the Tauntaun. They smell horrible on the inside and the outside.
I can squeeze it and make noises. So we'll get to the end in a second. Thrawn showing his makeup, his strategic understanding. He has a time to think about what would happen if this happened, if this happened, this happened. So back to where we're talking about the direction of this episode in the writing about the idea of our heroes have a point where they're like, okay, we've gotten past the stage where we were almost to Thrawn, and then Thrawn throws something else at him to slow him down or to misdirect him or whatever. And so we have this. It feels like a video game where you have to get past this level, get past this
boss,
level,
and then this boss, and then this boss. Yeah.
and so through all of that, somehow we get Ezra on the ship.
Right.
And we lose the Jedi, Ahsoka's ship, with a random TIE fighter fight. I love her Sabine using the blast and taking out the two TIE fighters with the wings, essentially.
Yeah.
And then coming back as they're working on it, and it's in a pile over there.
Yeah, Hu Yang's like, "What did you do to my ship?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Got him."
I love that line. It was so good. A lot of people who are saying that this last episode had a lot to wrap up. And a lot of it was what's going to happen. We need to see Thrawn be the threat that he is getting back to our galaxy. And people were wondering what's happening with Balin and Shin, and how is Ahsoka and everybody going to get back. And the only person who gets back is Ezra.
Right, the one who was there to begin with. Everybody else got left behind.
We get the Chimera in the ring, the Great Mothers, Thrawn, and their coffins. I'm now saying their coffins at Dathomir. I think they're going to reanimate those corpses with the ghosts of the Night Sisters and Night Brothers of Dathomir. That's my theory.
Okay. We have Shin and Balin.
Now let's talk about Shin. Shin shows up at the Raiders camp with the lightsaber, saying, "I'm your leader now." I guess.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
It's what it looks like. They have had an interaction with each other when they attacked the Natu group.
Yeah.
So her showing up there instead of going with Thrawn is a very interesting thing, because we were saying last week that we thought that Balin had wound her up to be the nuclear bomb that Thrawn could use when they get back.
And I just don't. I mean, they didn't really show much, so it's like did she not? Was she not able to get back? Did she just choose not
I
to?
uh, headcanon until I'm told differently in season 2. She chose to stay
Because Balin chose to
because Balin
stay.
chose to stay,
Yeah,
and
and
that if she chose to stay, she had nowhere else to go but to the Raiders.
yeah, yeah,
So we got Shin. At least there's something there. We have
yeah,
an idea what's going on. Now, Balin. Okay, so first I want to say this. Um, I am saddened that Ray Stevens was not alive to just get the love that he has gotten for this performance.
yeah,
He was great.
yeah.
Period. End of conversation. He was a lot of people had said he was the most interesting character in the show. I happen to disagree with that point. He was one of the most
Yeah,
interesting
I
characters
was
in the
just
show.
thinking that, like because the whole time you don't know what's going on with him.
Right.
You just like, what is like, who are you?
Right.
What are you?
Right.
What are you doing? Where are you going? Yeah, and now and then they kind of leave us with even more questions.
A huge giant. If I could draw a question mark on the screen, I would totally. Okay. They show him. They pan back. It looks like he's on one of the statues. From Lord of the Rings. Again, another Lord of the Rings reference of
Yeah.
the two kings, being the border of Gryffindor. I think not Gryffindor, of Gondor. Started with a G. There's a D in there somewhere. Except they pan back and they pan back and they pan back, and it's the freaking father, and the son
Yeah.
is the other statue,
Yeah.
and then there is a blank spot where the daughter should be.
Yeah. So maybe somebody blew it up, or
But then Morai shows up. How did she get there? Because she hasn't been with Ahsoka the entire time.
So Morai is the embodiment
Of the daughter.
Of the daughter.
Of the
so she just got up and flew away.
So
Flew off the mountainside.
right. So for those of you who don't know, the Mortis arc is a hugely important story point in the Clone Wars. It's also used for the entrance point of the World Between Worlds. We got the World Between Worlds. If you haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels, I'll do a short dissertation. The World Between Worlds is the episode where Ahsoka fell off the cliff and then woke up, and then Anakin was there. And there was all the space and the blue rings and the blue weird walking thing or whatever. And that particular part is a place to go learn about the past and the future. It is not time travel. It is a location for you to go and view events through the Force. It is a Force ability. It is not a Force ability by any person. It is the Force itself.
Right.
So the Guardians of the Gates of that was the Mortis gods in the Rebels. And the Mortis gods was shown in Clone Wars, and it was the father is the neutral point of the Force. The son is the dark of the Force, and the daughter is the light of the Force.
And I think they showed them in the very first episode when Ahsoka's in that, like, crashes through the floor. Aren't they on the wall?
That was the night the mothers. It was the great
Okay,
mothers.
okay,
It was three gods, the three women holding the spheres. That it was them.
okay. Yep.
I had the same thought, and then I was like, no, it was the three
Okay.
wives. So he is on the statue of two of the Mortis gods, looking through a valley off to the distance, where it looks like the lights of Minas Tirith have been lit. There is a single light glowing in the distance. Ahsoka, towards the end of the episode, talks to Sabine about, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. Ezra's exactly where he's supposed to be. She's looking off the distance, and there's a ray of light going through the clouds to this essentially what it looks like the same spot. And she keeps looking off in that distance like it's something is out there calling to her. Her and Sabine have a conversation that we're going to be okay, pretty much where we're supposed to be. She walks away. Sabine looks off into the distance, like something is calling her. Now she's much more connected to the Force. She talks about, you know, it was just a feeling like a shadow in the stars. I think is what she said, and we screamed out the Purgles because we thought that's how they were going to get back
Yeah.
home. And Ahsoka walks back up as Sabine leaves, and freaking Force Ghost Anakin is standing there. So the longest standing theory of any Star Wars thing outside of Luke and Leia should have known each other, were brother and sister, is that Anakin is the brother, Ahsoka is the daughter. That has been the longest standing theory that I could think of off the top of my head.
Well, and it makes sense. He went to the dark side, and she, well, now she's white Ahsoka, but and
Right.
then she got the the bird, Morai.
Morai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, it's I find it very interesting. That's the last image they leave us with. Is Hayden Christensen as Clone Wars Anakin, who went through the trials of the Mortis gods, saw his future, and then the father took away his ability, and then they all essentially killed each other. And so it was very interesting that Dave playing with us left us with that. So we have Balin on a statue of two of the Mortis gods. We have the daughter there as the bird. We have Ahsoka. We have Force Ghost Anakin on this planet in another galaxy.
by the way, Dave Filoni saying, for all you fans who said that Anakin shouldn't have been a Force Ghost, they shouldn't have added Anakin's Force Ghost
Yeah,
to the trio. He's just gonna
yeah,
bring it on back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ezra steals a shuttle, goes to home
and
one,
and armor
and armor, because it's totally a Ezra thing to do. Steals some armor, steals a shuttle, goes to home one, lands, walks out with his hands up. Hera's there, and her and a group of security, and Chopper's
and
like,
Chopper.
Chopper's like, no, I got this, I got this, I got that. I
guys,
know that guy.
Guys,
I know
it's
those guys.
okay. I got this.
And so he's back home. So we have 975 questions. When we started this show, we had like 10 questions. And this is Star Wars storytelling. They're going to leave you with more questions. They're going to answer a bunch of questions, and then they're going to leave you with more questions than you had. And it's also Dave Filoni's storytelling, that he has more story that he wants to tell.
Oh yeah.
And this story was about getting Ezra home.
Right.
And getting Thrawn back into the galaxy. That has been this story.
Right.
It was never about. It was
starting the next war.
Right. It was.
I mean, it will be.
It will be,
because I think that's what his movie vision is, right?
Yes.
But so now we need to deal with whatever's going on this planet.
Yes.
And in season 2 coming soon to Disney Plus, the next season will be like dealing with whatever's going on this planet, and I don't know what they're going to do about Ray Stevens, and then Ron gathering his army people, whatever, in that galaxy, and then the movie will be like
the movie is going to be the Mandalorian Avengers. I was thinking about this while I was kind of setting everything up. Thrawn now has the great mothers, the bodies that are about to be resurrected with the death of Myrians, and then every Imperial remnant that was either loyal to him or questioned maybe if he was even going to come back are all going to be with him. So he's going to have a proper fleet, force wielding ghosts, zombie thingies with witchcraft, and he's taken all of, at least to his knowledge, all of the force users that he knows of off the board.
Right.
And so the next move for the New Republic is Hera's going to have to start building a fleet.
Right.
And that fleet might have to include Senator Leia Organa.
Yeah.
So we might get Leia in another season. If it is, I want it to be Millie Bobby Brown.
He's on a crusade.
Because I am on a crusade.
She's too young.
By the time we get there, she will be the right age. She's 18. She's 19 now.
That would be Leia in
A New Hope.
In A New Hope.
But if they're going to do this movie in 2027, she'll be 22.
Still, that's the end of
right.
The Ewoks.
She's the right. She will be the right age. She will be the right age. I'm just gonna stay on this crusade. But Hera is going to have to put something together, and she's going to need help. Leia, Zeb, Hondo. We're still on Hondo watch.
Now she can take
Carson Teva.
No.
Ezra.
Thank you. Now she can take him to the Senate and go.
Right. Here he is. But where I'm trying to go is they have to go to Mandalore.
Why?
They're going to need the Mandalorian's help.
That's true. Yeah, you could get Bo-Katan and all of her people. And
right.
The
Mandalorian
isn't on Mandalore.
Mandalorians are on Mandalore.
The Mandalorian is not on Mandalore.
No.
But Bo-Katan and her people are.
And so there is a possibility that somewhere in season 4, Hera shows up.
Yeah.
And says, hey, we have this threat. It's coming. We need your help.
Yeah.
And it's the Empire. And if she goes to them and says, it's the Empire, every Mandalorian is going to go, we want revenge.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a ton there right now.
Not right now, but if they have a moment to kind of help rebuild, I mean, they were already rebuilt. They already rebuilt the Great Forge. So
right.
But that's where I think that conversation is going to be had, is in season 4 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then the trailer for Star Wars: The New Republic, Attack of Thrawn, The Return of Thrawn, whatever, the Son of Thrawn, or whatever. The trailer is going to be, here's Ezra, Ahsoka, Sabine back together. Here's the Mandalorian with some of his buddies. Here's with Bo-Katan and the Armorer and them. Here's Zeb and Carson leading the X-Wing fleet. And here's Leia trying to do her best to get Mon Mothma to say, can we please send some people out there to help? And so I think that's what, at least as the story as they set it out so far, it feels like that's kind of the building point that they're trying to get to, is the Mandalorian Avengers meet-up movie.
Yeah.
And we have...
I mean, Luke's still out there, too.
Luke is out there, but I'd be interested in how they kind of want to wedge his character into this conversation when he's over here trying to build his academy.
Right. But he could be... I mean, if they push this far enough into the future, he could be training young Jedis to join the war.
Ben will be there. He's 5'6" right now. And there's other Force users at his temple as part of, actually, the Kylo Ren run is part of that conversation. What's the new one that's coming out in the fall with Jude Law? I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Not been talked about a bunch, but it's that Amblin, the kids get kidnapped or lost, and Jude Law is going to be there. They're saying that that's a Stranger Things kind of thing that really nobody is talking about. But it is in the Mandoverse. It is connected to all of this stuff. And in the trailer, they showed a celebration that the rest of us didn't get to see. Jude Law's character is floating something in his hand, and so it's possible that he is Force sensitive or whatever. So so there's all this stuff that's going on. Like I said, they left us with more questions than we had at the beginning of this series, and that yet this series was Andor level amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was that good Um, maybe more for me because I have a connection to Clone Wars and Rebels than maybe what you do.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I thought it was really good. I don't know if I want to go Andor, just because Andor for me, like Rogue One, was a different story.
yeah,
Um, and and I I went to A New Hope in the movie theater
when it was called
when I
Star
was a
Wars.
kid, when it wasn't called New Hope, and so that was my Star Wars until they brought in Jim Henson and Ewoks, and then I was like, I'm out. So to have it, Andor and Rogue One feel a little more to me back to my Star Wars. He's wearing the
Gritty.
shirt. Star Wars is for everyone, and it's cool if it's not your Star Wars.
Yeah,
But for me, that's why I really liked Andor and Rogue One. I liked Ahsoka. I liked this.
yeah.
Um, uh,
They
it
really lean into the weird of Star Wars.
Yeah, and that's fine. I feel like it's kind of on par with the first season of Mando,
That's fair. Yeah,
which I like the Mando series, but I still that first season was just like,
yeah, yeah,
there's a baby Yoda.
yeah. Sweet baby Kevin, he's out there. I should have brought him in here.
And Luke, they brought Luke back. Yeah, so it was up there with that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that is our thoughts and our discussion of the Ahsoka show and the series. We start Loki on Thursday, and then next week we are on vacation. And so we're figure out what we're gonna do with the Loki series. So, like, we do talk about other things other than Star Wars. I know it's kind of hard to believe, and this is a Doctor Who thing down here. So we'll be talking about Doctor Who when that starts happening,
We may be filming Loki in our hotel room or something.
or at Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, because it's Thursday.
It's oh no, it's Thursday. We'll be in
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe at a bar in the Gaslamp
And
district
maybe
in San Diego.
so everywhere where we're going. Stop by, say hi. So let us know what you thought of this series overall, our discussion about it. If what are your theories about what Balian is trying to do? It's the Mortis gods. It's the Mortis gods. It's the Mortis gods. And like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for. Oh, be nice. Requirement around here.
Star Wars is for everyone.
Star Wars is for everyone. If this show isn't for you, cool. Don't diss other people for liking it. Unless you're Star Wars theory, we don't diss anybody around here. If you're Star Wars theory, you can die in a slow grease fire. Let us know what you thought of this series in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, follow us on all social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links are in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.